Ellen's relationship with her in-laws was rocky from the very beginning. Ina regarded her with a disdainful look, as if she were beneath contempt. Michael made it clear he didn't believe Elin was worthy of being his only son's wife, bluntly expressing his doubts on their first meeting. "Alex, are you sure you've chosen a good girl?" he asked, locking eyes with Elin. "I'm not convinced." "I picked the best one," Alex replied firmly. Elin managed a smile, relief washing over her. "Thank you." "I have my reservations too," Ina chimed in. "What's your educational background, Elin?" "I have a higher education. I'm a psychologist," she answered. "Really? You wouldn't guess it just by looking at you. You seem like just a country girl." "Actually, I was born and raised in the city," Elin corrected her, "and I graduated with honors and a gold medal." Michael snorted in disbelief and turned away, while Ina rolled her eyes, clearly displeased with Ellen's presence. Stifling a tear, Elin wondered why they were treating her this way when she hadn't done anything wrong. Sensing her distress, Alex squeezed her hand gently and offered her an encouraging smile. "Mom, Dad, can we not start an argument right at the door?" he said in a conciliatory tone. "I didn't bring her here to fight." "It would have been better if you hadn't brought her at all," Ina retorted, grimacing. "I've told you 100 times that you could have found a better match than Emma, but you always ignore my advice. Just wait, you'll regret choosing Elin when it's too late." With a heavy sigh, Alex ran a hand through his thick hair. "It's so difficult dealing with you." "It's not easy for us either," Michael shot back. "That's enough," Alex said, wincing. "I don't want to continue this conversation in this tone. We're not living with you, so I really don't care what you think of my fiancé. What matters is that I'm happy with her." He urged Elin not to worry about their rocky introduction, but she couldn't help it. How could they judge her without even knowing her? Was that how people behaved? "Imagine my childhood," Alex replied with a sad smile. "They condemned every single action of mine, every step I took, every decision I made. Nothing I did was ever right. Honestly, I'm not surprised they treated you so coldly. And you know what's ironic? Even if I had chosen Polinatka, the girl they've wanted me to marry since I was 15, they would have still found something to complain about. This is just how they are, perpetually dissatisfied with everything and everyone. You can't change them, so try not to let it bother you, okay?" "I'll try," Elin said hesitantly, "but it won't be easy. We'll be family after all, and that means we'll have to communicate, even if it's infrequent." "We won't have to," Alex said confidently. "We'll just invite them to the wedding, and that will be that." They decided to have their wedding in September, when the weather was still warm but not too hot. Elin found a stunning dress fit for a fairy tale princess and arranged for her makeup and hair to be done at a salon. She wanted to look beautiful. After all, this was a day that would change her life forever. However, that morning, after returning from the salon, Ina called Alex to announce that they wouldn't be giving them anything for the wedding. "Because I have no desire at all to give anything to your babe," she stated bluntly. "But you'll still come to the celebration, right?" Alex asked, surprised. "Yes, we'll be there." "And you won't bring a gift?" "And you think we're coming just for a gift?" Alex pressed his lips together, shook his head, and muttered something unintelligible. Finally, he said, "Fine, we'll be waiting for you," and hung up. "Elin, let's try to be as polite and courteous as possible. They'll come, sit for a bit, and then leave." Elin felt a surge of anger. "They want to come and ruin my day, don't they? That's exactly what your mother wants. I don't know what they want, but let's agree that if they act out, we'll just ignore them and pretend nothing's happening." "Do you really think I can do that?" Elin hissed, unsure. "What if they try to ruin something?" She turned and walked into the hallway, stopping in front of a large floor-to-ceiling mirror. Why were they even coming to the wedding if they couldn't stand her and always made it obvious? Elin was certain it was to cause trouble. She'd have to stay vigilant to avoid any awkward situations they might try to create. When the in-laws arrived, they really didn't bring a gift. Dressed in dull, everyday clothing, Inna in a plain cotton dress with a large floral print, and Michael in ordinary pants and a t-shirt. Inna shot Elin a disdainful look and snorted. "I've never seen anything more tasteless than your dress," she declared. Elin couldn't help but laugh. "And you're dressed like a couture model today," she joked. "Coco would be jealous if she saw you." "Who?" Inna didn't wait for an answer and continued. "I don't consider this day significant, so I dressed how I always do." Elin opened her fluffy fan, decorated with pearls and rhinestones, with a dramatic flourish and began to fan herself slowly. "Your dress isn't even suitable for a trip to a budget market. You look completely ridiculous in an expensive restaurant. Couldn't you at least iron it? It seems like you just pulled it out of the depths of your closet after it had been sitting there for 20 years, forgotten by your grandmother." Inna flushed, her eyes flashing with anger. "Don't lecture me. You're not old enough to tell me how to dress." With that, she turned on her heel, taking her husband's hand and heading toward one of the round tables covered with pristine white linens. Michael glanced back as they walked away. "I don't even want to talk to you after you said you wouldn't change your last name. Where have you ever seen a wife not take her husband's last name?" "Exactly," Inna chimed in. Elin slowly folded her fan, feeling every muscle in her body tense. She had never encountered such toxic people in her life, and the very idea that they could exist was baffling. How had Alex turned out to be such a sensitive, well-mannered, and intelligent person in such a destructive family? The in-laws ate with gusto, relishing every dish that came their way. Elin observed from a distance, watching as they shamelessly summoned the waiter for more and more plates, devouring everything down to the last crumb. Meanwhile, Alex seemed completely unfazed by their antics, happily chatting with other guests and sipping champagne from a delicate glass tied with a satin ribbon. Elin tried to mirror his carefree demeanor, but her gaze kept drifting back to her in-laws. Several times, she caught her mother's incredulous expression and responded with a smile and a shrug. When Inna was asked to make a toast, she recoiled as if the request were an affront, refusing with a haughty air. "I see I was unlucky with the matchmakers," Ellen's mother whispered in her ear. "How can they sit through the entire celebration with such sour faces?" "You can't say that," Elin replied with a grin. "It's a good thing they didn't waste any food," Alex said wearily as they drove home. Night had fallen over the city, the streetlights casting a warm glow. Shop windows sparkled with colorful lights, while a distant thunderstorm gathered strength. Flashes of lightning lit the sky, thunder rumbled ominously, and a gusty wind swirled fallen leaves along the sidewalks. The air was thick with the unmistakable scent of autumn. "I was expecting this all evening too," Elin admitted. "It seems like their plan was to keep us on edge." "Were you hurt that they didn't give you a gift?" Alex asked carefully, squeezing her hand in the darkness of the car. Elin shrugged, feigning indifference. "Not really, I just don't understand why they didn't. They don't seem to be struggling financially." Indeed, the in-laws were quite well off, with several apartments, 2 summer homes, an expensive car, and a healthy bank deposit providing passive income. They could have given her something small, but they chose not to. "Mom said they were giving you their son," Alex chuckled. "And they've already given me everything. Life, a decent childhood, a good education." Elin paused for a moment, considering. "Well, that might be true, but we weren't expecting a Rolls-Royce or a trip to the Bahamas from them. I would have been happy with an inexpensive tea set. Unlike you, my parents didn't spoil me much." "Do you think I was spoiled?" Alex scoffed. "Not at all. There was money in the family, but I never had pocket money until I started earning it myself. They bought me just 2 pairs of shorts and 2 t-shirts for the whole summer. If I tore them, I had to mend them myself. We bought a jacket for 2 seasons at once, along with boots. I lived quite modestly." Elin fell silent. Were you offended? You bet, Alex exclaimed. All my classmates went to the mountains for the weekend, while I stayed home because they didn't give me any money. Everyone at graduation was in new suits, and I was stuck wearing an old one. Everyone got bikes, but not me. It felt like I grew up in a low-income family, even though my parents had a successful business. I have no idea why they were so tight-fisted with me. Would it have really hurt their wallets that much? He went quiet for a moment, gazing out the window at the city lights whizzing by. Then he continued with a faint nonchalance. Even when I asked them for a hamster, they said no. They claimed it was too expensive, that it would die in a year, and we'd have to buy food. When we have a child, whether it's a daughter or a son, I'll never treat them that way. Or maybe two, Elin suggested playfully. 2 children? Alex clarified, his eyes lighting up. Even better, I'm all for having a big family. The next day, Ina called. As always, Alex switched on the speakerphone so Elin could hear the whole conversation. They were still lounging in bed. Your wedding was so pretentious and bourgeois, the mother-in-law complained. Everything was cheap, but tried to look expensive. The food was terrible. I wouldn't give a penny for that. Is that why you both couldn't stop eating the whole evening? Alex teased. Because it wasn't tasty? I had no idea you could stuff yourselves so much without risking a volvulus. And what about your jaw muscles? Don't they hurt from all that hard work? Ina snorted with disdain. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to hurt me. Your wife must have suggested you respond like that, right? She's quite something. Just tell her I've never seen a more terrible wedding. I'll be sure to let her know, Alex replied, trying to keep his tone light. Anything else? Yes, Ina continued, her voice dripping with annoyance. I didn't even call to discuss the wedding. I just wanted to share my thoughts. My father and I are buying another apartment. Another one? Alex echoed, surprised. Another one, she confirmed. My father isn't feeling well this morning, so could you take us to the notary? Alex drawled, puzzled. So, we didn't get a gift from you, but you're buying a new apartment? What did you expect? Ina retorted, indignant. We barely had enough for an apartment. Should we have taken it from that? I don't know, but it seems like you prioritize living space over your own son, Alex shot back. Elin looked at him in shock, unsure how to react. They had come to the wedding, been rude, devoured all the food, and now they were announcing plans to buy real estate. What was this all about? Elin felt certain that they were doing this on purpose, as a way to undermine her, to humiliate her as their daughter-in-law. You'll get it sooner or later anyway, Ina argued. Unless, of course, everything is so bad that you have to rewrite it to someone else. And I suspect it will be because your wife can put you up to anything. Tell her that I keep my ears open and know all the fraudulent schemes, so she shouldn't try to cheat you out of an apartment. I also suspect our relationship won't improve, Alex said calmly, though his jaw was clenched. And it's not Elin and I who are to blame. Are you saying it's my father and me? Ina shot back. I don't want to say anything, he replied evenly, but I'm not going to trade the woman I love for some mythical inheritance. If you need to see a notary, call a taxi yourself. You won't go broke after a couple of trips. He cut off the call, even as Ina's outraged voice continued to ring in his ears, and confidently added her number to the blacklist. I've had enough, he declared. Elin fell silent, wondering what would happen next. How would their relationship unfold? She didn't expect anything good, yet a small part of her still held on to hope. What if life sometimes took unexpected turns?